Welcome back to episode 133 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Cam.
Hello.
And joining us from across the province, our good buddy Matt.
Hi.
Glad to have you, Matt. Matt is a hardened skills aficionado, modern expert, fellow standard hater, as Cam would say.
Well, when we have our pawn shop set up and people bring in hardened scales cards, I don't know a lot about it, but I call up my buddy in Toronto and it's Matt.
Yeah, I can play one deck real well. Sweet.
Yeah, Matt joined us for the live stream when we co-streamed the Mythic Invitational a couple months ago. And filling in for Adam today because in redneck fashion, believe it or not, no word of a lie, this is 100% true. In his own words, today he messed with the bull and he got the horns.
Yeah.
And when I say he messed with a bull, I legitimately mean he was riding bulls and got tossed off.
Really? That happened, eh?
Yeah. He messed up his ankle pretty bad and has to miss the show now because he was back home in Alberta riding bulls and getting thrown around.
Geez, that's just, good Alberta fun right there. Holy moly.
Yeah, a lot of people in Alberta are really into rodeos. There was a family that I grew up next to. They were maybe my second closest neighbor, about a 5-minute drive away. Not that far, but and they owned a lot of the cows who were my actual closest neighbors because their fields sort of neighbored my parents' property. And yeah, their whole family would travel to compete in rodeos. One of their sons grew up to he's now an auctioneer for cow auctions and such.
Okay.
Beef auctions. Yeah, that's all they do.
Wow.
Jeez. When did this happen? Because we were talking
happened a few hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a couple hours before, or maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before I messaged you.
Oh, okay.
Because he was supposed to record tonight, and then shot us a message actually, it's not going to happen. I messed with a bull.
Jeez, yeah, because we were talking 5:36.
Yeah.
And you didn't mention it at all. And I feel like getting skewered by a wild bull is something that, you might want to bring up.
I wanted to save it for the show because I thought it would be better.
Okay.
But if after last week's episode, if there was any confusion whether how red Adam's neck had gotten, I think we have our answer. But
Jeez.
We've got a lot to talk about today. Going to be doing our top 10 countdown for Modern Horizons. A bit of a different one this time around as it's not a standard set.
Particularly. It's a very unique set.
Yeah. First non-standard set I think we've been counting down on the show since we started, actually. So that'll be fun. Get to talk about some interesting cards. But to start things off, we'll kick it off with standard. There was a GP in Kansas City this past weekend, won by probably the best deck name in standard, Esper Superheroes.
It's a good one, yeah.
I think this is almost the exact 75 that we talked about either last week or the week before, Martin Mueller's Esper Hero deck that cut Thief of Sanity in favor of Basilka Bellhunt and more Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I don't remember if Martin Mueller was playing a Search for Azcanta, but if otherwise, this is extremely close.
Yeah, so really interesting deck here, obviously very powerful. But one of the big things coming from this tournament is you look at this top 8, we have 7 different archetypes in the top 8 of a standard GP, which this is the kind of thing you would expect out of Modern. We haven't really seen something like this in standard in a while, but it's really cool to see. It's kind of keeping on what we've been saying about standard ever since War of the Spark came out, how diverse it is, and you could really still just play anything in this format.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of problems with the standard, but admittedly, diversity is not one of them. It is very diverse.
For sure. I mean, we've got Esper, we've got green-red mid-range, Simic Nexus, Boros Feather aggro, 2 Bant mass manipulation ramp decks, a mono-red aggro, and Is It Phoenix?
Yeah, really just a sampling of the format. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about how quickly things were changing, and Standard kind of went in these chunks of development. It seemed like everybody played Super Friends decks, and those got figured out. Then everybody was on Nissa decks, and those got figured out. And now everyone's kind of redistributing across all these archetypes in, apparently, judging by this top 8, a very even fashion. So nothing that we haven't seen, nothing super innovative. I don't know if we'll get anything innovative anymore, because when's the next core set come out? In a month?
Yeah, core set 2020 is coming up soon, actually, I think.
Is it really that soon?
Is it July? I think it's July.
Yeah, it's quite quick.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, speaking of that, we also one thing I forgot to put in the show notes, but we got a pretty big announcement this past week that the London Mulligan is coming.
Oh, right.
With
Yeah.
Core Set 2020. How we feel about that, since we're on the topic of Modern as well this week.
I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely great.
I think it's awesome. I can't wait.
I haven't played with it, so I don't know, like, I can't tell what the games are actually like or how it affects gameplay. I have heard them claim that it makes it better, and it, sounds like it should do what they claim in Limited and Standard, but I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah, I've played it actually quite a lot in both Legacy and Modern, because they had it on like Magic Online for like what's that, felt like a month? Like it was like really common.
Yeah, it was something like that, I think.
Yeah, and it didn't really affect like gameplay too much at all. Obviously, like people were like jamming like the Allosaurus Raptor deck in Modern was like probably like the big story. But no, it felt like completely fine. And honestly, going back from that to the Scry Mulligan felt like going back to like the Dark Ages. Like it felt pretty miserable.
My only experience with the London Mulligan was actually testing for Magic Fest Niagara when I was playing some Legacy online, and the London Mull was online at that point, and it seemed great. Right. But my only experience is Legacy, so. Yeah,
I figured like if something's gonna like get broken, like they'll probably break in Legacy before anything super bad happens in Modern. And
well, I would argue that they already broke it in Modern with the Allosaurus Rider Neoform deck.
Yeah, maybe. I think that it just like sort of encourages people to play those decks, and it's more of like an incentive for you to do that rather than like an actual boost to it. Because like I was playing Modern the other day, and I lost to somebody playing like Bitter Blossom, New Teferi, and like Polymorph. And he polymorphed, like on my turn, he polymorphed like a Bitter Blossom thing, and he got back like an Emrakul, which is like the only creature in his deck, obviously. And he was just like, I'm just like preparing for like the London Mall. Or like these cookie decks. I'm just like, okay.
That's nuts. I haven't seen Polymorph in a hot minute.
No, I was pretty taken aback, I'll tell you. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. That was oh boy.
Well, I can't wait.
Last time I saw Polymorph was in World of Warcraft. I don't even know what the magic card does.
Magic card, it's destroy a creature, then flip over cards in your deck until you find another creature and put that into play.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
So he's only playing Emrakul, obviously, and Bitter Blossom.
Yeah.
So, and he gets to do it on my turn because 3 mana Teferi.
Wow, that's really strong.
That, sir, is a combo.
It's an ambush.
That's a combination of cards. Right? But yeah, so I mean, like, I think because like, people are like, I can find my combo pieces easier. I can play these combo decks that like normally would be crazy to play, right? And then eventually they'll find out they're still crazy. But
yeah. I mean, it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with the format. I think there might have to come down hard on a few decks to keep things from going completely degenerate.
If it leads to some sort of more bannings of degenerate / unfun decks, depending on which side of the table you're on, then I'm for it. Like, I don't mind if a couple things have to go to improve the gameplay in every other format and every other matchup in that format.
Yeah, I honestly think this Mulligan rule is going to be the end of Simian Spirit Guide in Modern. I think that's one of the first.
Too good with it?
Yeah, I think that's one of the first cards that's going to.
I don't actually know, because like Simian Spirit Guide, like combos that require Simian Spirit Guide necessarily require a lot of cards, because like you need to have Simian Spirit Guide in your hand, and you need other things. So like those decks not already, but I think they will continue to not mulligan necessarily very well, just because a lot of cards need to come together. Like this favors combo decks where you need one card, like zombie hunt decks.
Yeah,
which is like super memey, but
I'm not sure I agree. Just because, like, think about the Neoform deck's a great example, because that can actually kill you on turn 1 or 2 if they don't have Simian Spirit Guide.
Yeah,
just real quick, because Simian Spirit Guide brought up. Real quick brag opportunity. I beat turn 2 Simian Spirit Guide 4 mana Karn this weekend when I was playing Scales.
So like the one, the new Karn?
Yeah, like the stony one.
How did you manage that?
I just went like Scales into like Hangerback Walker or something like that, and just like attacked him down. He kind of misplayed a little bit, but like I was like, holy smokes. I did get blown out by main deck Ancient Grudge from another Karn deck.
Oh.
he was playing Ponza with 4 main deck Ancient Grudges and the liquid metal thing with Karn. So like the idea was make everybody stuff artifacts and then blow them up.
I see.
That's actually that's awesome. That's sweet. Oh,
but yeah, I like called the judge because I was like, oh, okay, well, this guy just like trying to cheat me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like getting bored because we were like playing beside each other like the previous round, and the judge comes over. He's like, all right, yeah, let me go find the list, get this DQ ready. And he comes back. He's like, no, you guys are actually good to go. I'm like, you serious? Yeah.
Wow,
nice.
But yeah, going back to like this consistency on mulliganing thing, I would be curious. So like I'd heard from the Neoform players that turn 1, turn 2 kills were reasonably frequent. Sort of so frequent that people were alarmed. But I'm curious how many of those turn 1 and turn 2 kills actually happened off of mulligans. Like if you mull a 5, I don't know if you can actually have enough cards to do that.
I'm not sure.
So like some finer stats would be nice, but maybe I'm wrong here. And maybe that mulligan and being able to pick 5 of 7 or 4 of 7 is enough that you can get the right exact cards you need with some Spirit Guide. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out reasonably quick because people have already kind of found some of the more busted things you could do under the mulligan rule. So people are already iterating on those decks or have been iterating on them. So we're not going to have that whole period that we had before of people trying to figure out what's the most busted thing they could do because a lot of it has been found.
Second question then, and this is not really a getting better at Magic or how to play Magic question, but how long do you think it is until someone is DQ'd and banned from a paper event for abusing the new mulligan rule in some sleight of hand way to cheat?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because like every other, like previously or now, like people who are being particularly careful, they'll deal out, 7 cards and they'll deal out 6, or like their opponent will watch them or they'll count how many they're drawing and then they scry. But now it's always 7. And then, you just quickly like put the wrong number back and hide one in your hand. Like how many people are going to be counting that quickly? Like it might become a thing that like people lay out the cards they're putting back and then put the library on them. But
yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of like sleight of hand sheets like you can run like that in paper Magic that people just like sort of choose not to. Like Ron was talking about like his, when people like go to mulligan, sometimes they don't say like mulligan, they just like look at the top like 3 cards.
Yeah.
Where like you could do like scry 1 and like if it sucks then like quickly look at the next like 3, so it just looks like
you're mulliganing,
you're always mulliganing, but like really you just like took your scry first.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is going to be a common problem. I'm just wondering like
how
if Cam's out here
until someone gets got by it.
Sure.
Or they get someone for doing it.
Yeah, if you like mull a 5 and then just put 1 back or something.
I'll give it 3 months.
Yeah, people I think this is actually going to be one of the most common things, and there might be judge calls about it early in the format, is people losing track of what they've mulled to.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool. All right. So let's talk some modern cards. We've got our countdown this week. To kick things off, I want to mention our honorable mention. With our top 10s, we've kind of stayed away from land cycles as we like to stick to cards that are exciting, playable, but lands are kind of boring, I would say. So we've kept them off our top 10s in the past. So I think we have to mention the Horizon land cycle before we jump into this top 10.
It's the enemy colors, right?
Yeah, enemy colored Horizon lands. These are probably the most playable cards in the entire set. We'll probably see the most play out of all the cards in the set, but we left them off the top 10 for the sake of staying true to our lists as we normally do them. But I think these cards are nuts.
Yeah, I mean, they're just there were already decks that sort of played off-color Horizon Canopy, right? Just for that effect. So
Scales is one of them.
Yeah, so now other decks will have their choice of playing off-color, and even more decks will have their choice of on-color. So it just does a lot.
I can't remember like a green-white deck that didn't play some like number of Horizon Canopies.
Yeah, I mean, even Tron played a Horizon Canopy for a while as just a redraw in the late game. If you're drawing late game Sylvan Scryings or Expedition maps, you can turn them into another card.
Sense.
So it'll be really interesting to see what decks pick up these lands. And I think it's going to be a lot of them. They're just incredibly powerful. But beyond that, let's jump into number 10. Our number 10 card, Unearth, It's 1 black mana sorcery. Return target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it does cycling for 2 mana.
So
what are we doing with this?
I've played this in Pauper, and having a 1 mana 3-drop is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. There's just like a lot of like unfair things you can do with this card, and then also just like a lot of fair things to do with this card. Just get back like a tireless tracker, you know, nothing wrong with that. But also just like in like a Vizier combo deck, just like get back a combo piece. It's like pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, being extra copies, being copy 5 through 8 of whichever combo piece they already killed, because you have the other one.
Yeah,
it seems strong.
And a lot of times with these cards where they rely on like having like a card in your graveyard to like do something, right? Otherwise it's dead. You the cycling on it is also nice.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to try to make this do some busted things with this card, but really it might just end up being one of the more fair cards as well. Kind of early to say, but Unearth definitely super powerful. I like that it brings back your prized amalgams if you played in Dredge.
Oh, yeah.
Returning creatures, which is cool.
Oh, yeah, you bring back something else, and then all your prized amalgams also come back.
Yeah.
What other like cheap creatures are really good to bring back? Is there any way that Death Shadows end up in the graveyard?
Like,
yeah.
That they get killed,
of course.
Oh, Thoughtscour, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with Unearth, like we have an effect like this already in Modern, right? In Claim Fame, but it only brings back creatures with converted mana cost 2 or less.
Okay.
So I think the power you get out of this card obviously is 3 mana is significantly better than 2, but we haven't really seen Claim Fame at all. So really, what's going to push this card into playability is what are the best 3 mana plays we're bringing back with this. I think.
What does Fame do? Give something +1/+0 and haste.
Yeah, haste. Yeah.
I think cycling is much better than Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Cycling is better, but like, does the bring up thing back also cost 1? I thought it cost 2, or is that the haste part?
I think it costs 1,
but we're about to look it up.
Yeah, claim cost 1.
Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so yeah, interesting to see like where this ends up. If people are doing unfair things with it or fair things with it, or who knows.
Exactly. Moving on to number 9, we've got Mirrodin Besieged. It's 2 and a blue mana for an enchantment. As Mirrodin Besieged enters the battlefield, choose Mirren or Phyrexian. If you choose Mirren, whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. Or Phyrexian, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card, then discard a card. Then if there are 15 or more artifact cards in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game.
So yeah, speaking of cards that can be played fairly or unfairly, I think Mirren sounds pretty fair. You know, it's just the 1/1.
Yeah.
Phyrexian seems pretty unfair. It says target opponent loses the game. That's not fun.
That's a spot on analysis of this one. But yeah, it just seems like it's Master Thopters, but it's already seen a reasonable amount of like modern play. Admittedly, not as much now that like KCI is not a deck anymore, but like still comes up in like War Prison or like Thopter decks, or like Thopter Sword decks.
Yeah.
And like you don't really care about like the Psi body, so this just seems like a more sticky effect for that, with the upside that it's sometimes just an oops, I win the game if you draw it late game.
It has to be noted too that this card isn't legendary, so yeah, playing multiple copies.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Psi's legendary, so you can
having multiple Psi, you're still just getting 1.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 3 of these out. You could be making 2 artifacts every time you cast something, and then winning the game with the 3rd.
Is there might be like a combo with that? Is it like every time you cast 1 artifact, you get like multiple artifacts?
There has to
be. Yeah.
That's why it's on the list. It's like an interesting card. There's probably going to be some sort of new deck around it, or it could just slot into existing decks. But
yeah, because we were kind of trying to figure out where would this slot in our pre-show. But Matt, you were saying War Prison probably want an effect like this. It's an alternate win condition. But yeah, or it could just create an entirely new archetype on its own.
Is there like a card that says sacrifice an artifact and make some mana that you can use to cast more artifacts? And then maybe like loop?
Yeah, it's called KCI.
Yeah, jeez, that card would be great with this.
Oh, it would.
They axed that one.
Also to note, usually, at least in the cards that I can think of, this sort of, and then your opponent loses or you win, is usually like an upkeep trigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have to because I don't know, my initial reaction reading this is that you have to play it, your opponent gets a turn to either do something about your graveyard, do something about it, and then it would trigger. But if your opponent taps out while you have 15 cards in the graveyard, you just play this and kill them. It's on your end step.
Yeah. That's true.
You do get the immediate effect out of it, which is super interesting. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to untap with it. I do like that. Man, this card just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, it's like
the more we talk about it.
Well, it's the more we read it. We all read it wrong.
Yeah.
Moving on. Sticking with the blue card. Number 8, Archmage's Charm. It's an instant, 3 blue mana. Choose one, counter target spell. Target player draws 2 cards, or gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. This card does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, modal cards always perform better than they read on paper, and this one already reads fairly good.
Yeah, I think there's already some pretty powerful mono blue decks floating around that are taking advantage of a new card like Narset. I think this card is fantastic in a deck like that. It just does so much. Deals with Death Shadows. It's fine late game. It's just a draw 2 cards. Counterspell is always good.
Instant speed divination is actually very good. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, obviously the mana cost being the most restrictive part of this card. A lot of comparisons to Cryptic Command, but
yeah, you mentioned mono blue decks, but there's the obvious comparison to Cryptic Command here. Any deck that can cast Cryptic can cast this, potentially even a turn earlier, and you don't need this on turn 3. You can do other things. So even having this on turn 4 is fine. So yeah, this still fits into 2 color decks, or Jeskai control decks cast Cryptic, so they could cast this. You could with Fetch Shock mana in Modern, you can do whatever you want. The question then is does this displace Cryptic? Does it augment Cryptic? Do different decks want this when other decks want Cryptic?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Cryptic obviously being easier to cast because 1 and 3 blue is easier to cast than 3 blue.
No, it's not. Strictly harder.
I don't think so. Isn't it easier to get 3 blue on turn 4 than it is on turn 3?
Okay, if you're asking on turn, on turn 4, no. It's strictly harder because any time you can cast Cryptic, you can also cast this. But there are times that you can cast this and not Cryptic. It is strictly easier to cast.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Because if you need to fetch planes or something.
Yeah. Okay. If your question is this on turn 3 more likely to be castable than Cryptic on turn 4?
Yeah.
Then I don't know. But if you're asking about them both on turn 4.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
With how fast and linear Modern is right now, not sure if a lot of decks can afford to maybe not be able to cast this card on turn 3 when you would need it, because that's a pretty critical turn right now in the format. But it does a lot of stuff. Yeah, that I think that mono blue deck definitely has legs. So it'll be cool to see what happens with that one.
Well, with the new Mulligan rule, you just put your non-blue lands back and keep your blue lands.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Perfect. Yeah.
We figured it out. All right, moving up. Number 7. Man, there's a lot of blue cards on this list.
It's a good color.
Yeah, that's a good color.
Urza, Lord High Artificer. 2 and 2 blue mana for a legendary creature, Human Artificer. When Urza enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue. 5 mana, shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost.
Okay, first
For
off,
a 1/4.
before we get into the applications of this card, it's 5 mana activated ability. All right, so the previous text on the card, your artifacts can tap for mana without summoning sickness. It makes an artifact, so it's kind of a mana rock as well. It all leads to some sort of hyper-powered combo turn is the suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5, shuffle your library, then exile the top. That reads like they're trying to stop you from doing combo things. It looks like such a meager protection.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just have them shuffle first. So at least this part's random. Why is that there?
That's all you got to do now is exile all the cards in your library except for 1, and then you know.
Oh yeah, true.
I saw a guy. I mean, it's not really this, but he had that mirror card that says exile all the cards, and put 1 back, and then I don't know. He somehow got Jace as the last card in his library. And you won. Like the 4-mana Jace.
Got
Oh,
him.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so this card enables some busted stuff. Tolarian Academy on a creature. You're not doing anything fair with that, let me tell you. Not only is this card going to be incredibly played in Commander, of all things, but I actually think this card is really playable in Modern. Like, Thopter Sword was already a fringe deck. This card enables that combo.
Yeah, you go infinite rather than just doing a large amount of Thopter sorting every turn.
We already talked about a good artifact enabler in Mirrodin Besieged. Maybe this card plays a piece in that new deck.
Oh, Matt was asking for a way to get artifacts to make mana. Every artifact you cast makes 2 servos, which you can tap for 2 blue.
There we go.
Or 1 servo, and depending on how many.
Figuring it out as we go up our list.
Jeez, that's a combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could have talked about it with like Mirrodin Besieged as well, but this is another one of those cards that like I feel like there's no real middle ground. Either this card turns out to be like a flop and sees no play, or is completely busted and like, it's not going to just be like this card's like pretty good,
Yeah, that's true.
You're able to tap the construct token that comes into play with it immediately, right, for mana. So you can play this and still make a 1-mana play, which might be, like a bauble or something, which I assume you'd play in a deck like this.
Yeah.
So it has an immediate impact beyond that, and then enables a bunch of unfair stuff. So I think this card's good. It will be interesting to see what kind of decks can really take full advantage of it.
I think whether combos using this deck or using this card will exist depends on, like, it reads like they might be a turn or 2 slow. Just because this costs 4 and you kind of have to need some other setup and then something else to do with the mana. But if they're not too slow, then, or if the format slows down for whatever reason, then we'll probably see this card.
I mean, Thopter Sword, as it is currently built, it's more of a control deck, would you say, right?
Control or prison or whatever you want.
So prison decks are usually doing stuff to make the game go longer. So I can definitely see it filling an important role there. Moving up the list, not a blue card this time. Number 6, Giver of Runes. White for a core cleric creature, 1/2. Tap it. Another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until end of turn. Obvious comparisons to Mother of Runes here, but...
Really? I didn't put that together.
What's that card do?
Cam, let me tell you. Mother of Runes, 1 white for a creature. This card, I guess you would say a fixed version of Mother of Runes?
Yeah, like fixed in that you can name colorless now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an upgrade, but it can't target itself. So it's a downgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say that Mother of Runes like needs fixing. Like, Mom's like a great card, but I don't think she's like broken or format warping.
Why do you think they didn't want to let this target itself?
Oh, in Modern it might be, but like, and I guess we're talking about Modern Horizons. So yeah, okay, checks out.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of decks that would want access to a card like this. Off the top of my head, the Vizier Devoted Druid combo decks, just another creature you have to answer early in the game, or else your opponent's gonna be able to combo off without having to worry about interaction.
Yeah, any of those creature combo decks, especially if they're playing Chord, it's also a 1-mana thing that taps for Chord later.
Obviously, less powerful because you don't have to waste 2 removal spells on it, but it is a lightning rod in the sense that you have to kill this card, or else your opponent's just going to be able to have their way with you. So,
yeah, notably not a human.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
I think that was one of the first things play design probably jumped on, that there's no possible way this card could ever be a human.
I still think that humans is interested in playing this card, maybe just out of the sideboard, as it's basically just like a spell Skype.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a 1/2, so it doesn't get hit by gut shot. So, better than Mom, obviously.
Yeah. Doesn't get hit by Lava Dart, which isn't on our list, but probably should be.
Oh, I mean, it does get hit by Lava Dart if they sacrifice their mountain.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's so you're saying you wouldn't do like the sacrifice in the pre show? You just
Yeah.
Is it worth killing your own mountain to kill their mom?
Okay, so
That's got to be worth.
Presumably, you are lava darting this thing twice at the cost of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that you can kill something else. What lands are you killing that other thing with after you've sacrificed your mountain?
Well,
you aren't. You don't have any lands left.
The other lands you draw.
No, it was turn 1. They went plains this. You went mountain, lava dart this, blow up your mountain. You now have 0 permanence.
Well, you don't have to do
and they're going into turn 2. Well, yeah, you do. That's what the card says.
I don't know. Mom's pretty good, man. I would be interested in blowing up my land to kill a mom.
Not early. No, not early. Okay, well, whatever. This is also probably... Do you think this is the closest we'll ever get to Stoneforge Mystic? Just a white 1/2 that's a core?
That's true.
Probably.
R.I.P. I mean, we have that red card. That's pretty close. We didn't put it on the list, but we were talking about it. It's the one that like fetches up an artifact, but it puts it in the graveyard instead of your hand.
Stoneforge Goblin.
Yeah.
That's almost as good, right?
Goblin
being in the graveyard in your hand.
Yeah, and you have
totally.
to sack an artifact, and it only brings back things that are 3 or less. But it plays well with Mirrodin Besiege, so...
That's you just got to play Second Sunrise and get it. No, that doesn't even work. Shit.
All right, so here's what we do. It's a blue-red deck, and it's using artifacts, which are made of metal, sometimes involving cans or things that hold stuff, fuel, and the graveyard because you're trying to win off that second mode. So you can just call it blue-red garbage cans.
All right.
I'm already interested.
This is good.
And we go from there. This is a really name-first brewing experience.
Yeah.
Probably like a lot of those craft beers that are like extremely hoppy. They make like this IPA, and that's their thing. It's just got a lot of hops. Like those were definitely name-first brewing ideas, and then they came up with a recipe because they always have some like pun on hops.
Isn't there like some like bad red removal spell called like dumpster fire or like garbage fire?
Yeah, garbage fire exists. I don't know if it's modern legal.
Okay. Perfect.
Trash Master is a goblin. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god. Red blue trash can.
yeah, what does Trash Master do? Pumps your goblins and you can sack an artifact to do something?
Yeah.
Or sack a goblin to destroy an artifact?
Yeah.
Something like that.
We can
yeah.
destroy our own artifacts with our goblins to put them in the bin to win off Mirrodin Besiege.
Oh,
That
my
is a
God.
truly dumpster play for the trash can deck.
we're brewing hot garbage fire
Oh, we sure are.
live on the cast this week.
They got to put like arena, give like modern on arena. You can do rank tankers with.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
that'd be awesome.
We'll tank your rank this time though.
That's my arena rank is already very bad.
I don't think my rank can be tanked. I don't play ranked that often, so it's probably bronze.
Nice.
It's really frustrating to play like arena after playing MODO because I can just like buy the cards that I want on MODO.
You could buy the cards you want on Arena as well. You just have to put a little more work into it.
Each card costs 6,000 gold.
Yeah. It's and it's more exciting too because you get to open packs at the same time, which some would argue is the best part of playing Magic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, I suppose.
Yeah. Moving up the list, number 5, Ranger Captain of Eos. 3 mana, 3/3, 1 double white for a human soldier creature. When Ranger Captain of Eos enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 1 or less, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library, and sacrifice Ranger Captain of Eos. Your opponents can't cast non-creature spells this turn. What are we doing with this one?
It seems like a pretty obvious like combo enabler.
Yeah. Now, beyond just combos too, there's a lot of really powerful 1 mana creatures you can be grabbing in Modern with this play. Notably, this card's a human as well.
They should have called it Grabber of Giver of Runes.
It's true. It goes and gets our number 6 card on the list. This is Mother
Just to stick with their obvious naming convention here.
Yeah, of course. That's,
Yeah,
Wow.
this is a pretty cool card because I think there's a lot of decks that could really benefit from this sort of effect. 3 mana. Obviously, we have Ranger of Eos already in the format, but 3 mana versus 4 mana in Modern is a huge difference. And the extra text on this card is nothing to ignore either.
no, I think a lot of the times when cards do 2 things to advance your game plan, then those are the cards that are, really see a lot of play and like are really good for your strategy. A lot of times that's things that, the drawback is actually like a positive, like for you, like something like a Thought Scour and like, is it Phoenix?
Yeah.
Or what have you. But this, being able to tutor up your combo pieces and then protect the combo, it does like, it's, 2 for 1 in that sort of sense.
Yeah, that is a good point. Kind of similar to how modal cards can contribute to whichever part of your game plan you need at the time.
Yeah.
This is a modal creature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess it is modal. Like it has its front side effect, but then the mode is it's either a 3/3 or it's this protection effect.
I wonder which deck that currently exists in Modern could take most advantage of a card like this.
That currently exists. It's probably the Devoted Druid decks, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that.
We were thinking about good 3-mana cards you can bring back with Unearth, and this seems like a good one.
This is a very good card to bring back with Unearth.
Oh, yeah.
I am listening. You know what else is in those colors that would be great to bring back with Unearth? Death Shadow. No, can grab a Death Shadow once you unearth your Ranger Captain of Eos.
That is, I mean, a lot of the old Death Shadow decks were playing Ranger when they're like splashing for Lingering Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's definitely, or even like people were playing like Esper for a little bit so they could play Esper Charm. But like Ranger of Eos, grabbing Death Shadow is like definitely something that's been done before.
Yeah, and if you're like trying to team or battle rage people, you just sack this first.
Yeah, we're looking Mardu Death Shadow. We've got some Faithless Lootings to bin our Ranger Captain of Eos, then unearth it back and get our Death Shadows.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so much value.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, just the coolest part of this entire set is that there are these, I don't know if I'd call Ranger Captain of Eos narrow, but there's definitely new and enough powerful effects that it will shake up a format which doesn't change very often. It takes a lot to shift Modern.
Mm-hmm. They've also like used this, non-standard printing of cards to like bring back a lot of mechanics they said they probably were never going to bring back again.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's dredge cards printed, right? Like, can you imagine like putting dredge back in standard or something? Like obviously not.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something you were mentioning, that a lot of the mechanics reoccurring in this set are very high on the storm scale.
Yeah, you got 10 and dredge, but like you got stuff like snow permanents are like play like a huge role. That's like at a 7, which is like pretty high. Then like retrace and threshold, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we didn't actually have anything that has to do anything with snow on our top 10. So maybe if we want to do an aside now and talk about just general thoughts on snow cards. I know you had some, Matt.
Sure. Yeah. So when I first saw they were bringing snow back, I thought that was like a really weird sort of thing for them to do, since it wasn't a particularly like liked mechanic. Like obviously like Scred, I guess, plays like Snowlands.
Yeah.
So it seemed like weird to me at the beginning. I thought a little bit more about it and figured that like, oh, you know what? They're encouraging people to play the non-standard like fetch shock land base. And this is kind of a sweet way to encourage that and like give you a reason to like not play the straight up, traditional shock fetch mana base. Like there's a reason to play basics.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool snow cards in this set, like On Thin Ice. Obvious parallels to Chain to the Rocks, but you're enchanting a snowland instead of a mountain. On Thin Ice just strictly better because it could be any snowland, doesn't have to be a mountain. Also counts as a snow permanent itself, which could matter for certain cards like Merit Lage's Slumber, the 2-mana snow enchantment that allows you to put a Merit Lage into play if you have 10 or more snow permanents.
Yeah, there's like the Toxic Deluge with snow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good one.
There's the Baleful Strix snow
Iceman
Codal.
Yeah.
Man.
These are also pretty good. Yeah.
We have a obvious payoff in something like Merit Lage's Slumber. We have some good pieces to fill the gap, like On Thin Ice and Iceman Codal. It's just really, how many colors are we playing in the snow deck? How many could you realistically support? Like, what other powerful things are you doing? Really, I think the question is, like, how good is the payoffs that we have in Modern as it currently stands? And I'm just not really sure that the payoff is good enough.
Yeah, I agree that I don't think that there's quite enough payoff. And, like, it's not like we're going to get more snow cards, presumably.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So this is probably it. And like the thing that I don't like about it is that I kind of feel obligated to play snow basics now, right? Like there's really no downside to me just like jamming snow-covered planes instead of regular planes in my deck. So just so that like, he thinks that maybe I'm playing like on thin ice versus like he doesn't have to worry about on thin ice if I'm not playing snow planes. But then I don't get to play my sweet invasion planes that I love so much.
You can get them altered.
I can get them altered. Yeah, that's true.
Get your snow planes altered to the art of your favorite planes.
That's a good point. I can just like go to a, just stack like a big 25 of each basic land in front of the artist and just say, make these.
Yes.
It's all still $1, right? Like,
I just want you to copy paste, please.
Yeah.
All right, moving up to number 4 on the list. We have the Force cycle. Cheated on this one. Wanted a way to get all of these cards onto the list without actually having to put them all on the list in different slots. So we could talk about all of them. Obviously, one of the most talked about cards from the set is Force of Negation. 3 mana, 1/2 blue for an instant. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of it putting it to its owner's graveyard. So there was a ton of talk. Well, when they first announced this set, are they going to put Force of Will in the set? And this is what we got. What do you guys think of Force of Negation?
I mean, I don't really think it's that impactful. Like, there's nothing I really want to force on turn 1. I mean, the sort of, the Raptor Neoform deck aside, right? Like, turn 1 Chalice is, like, so rare. And the reason why Force is, like, good in Legacy is that there's a lot of stuff you need to counter on turn 0, or else, you're at a significant disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice that this effect will be there, that if some sort of fast degenerate combo crops up, or there's something where you want an earlier piece of interaction that's at a card disadvantage, that it's in the format if people want it. It would probably be overplayed at the beginning.
I agree with you. I really like that this card exists. Obviously, nowhere near as good as Force of Will, but context matters. I'm not really sure if Force of Negation will be much of a player in the format, but I mean, it does play really well in an archetype like blue-white control, that with the new 3 mana walkers and Narset and Teferi, you're tapping out on turn 3 to play these cards, and you still have a safety valve now for your opponent's Karn Liberated that they're going to cast when you tap out on turn 3,
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I like the card. I think it's good that it's in the format. You're not doing anything degenerate with it. It's a nice safety valve.
So I do like the design that it only is free on your opponent's turn, since it sort of doesn't, like, with the exception of like Adnos that can combo at instant speed or something like that, it de-incentivizes people using it for degenerate stuff and like as protection for your degenerate deck, like a Pact Negation.
Yeah, I also like that. That is, I think that's pretty smart design.
Yeah, like hats off to whoever thought of that one. That is a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
The other Force here, the green Force, is one I actually do like, and I'm super happy is in the format. I don't even play a lot of Modern, and part of the reason is because there's a lot of effects that I think are too cheap and too powerful and shut off too much of the gameplay, like your Rest in Pieces, your Blood Moons, etc. And a lot of those hate pieces and hate effects are artifacts and enchantments. So Force of Vigor has the same force text. You can exile a green card if it's not your turn. Otherwise, it costs 2 green. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. And so this is a way to get rid of those things that shut off your mana or shut off your ability to cast cards without needing mana or really needing to cast something. And so if this lets fair decks battle past all those, lock pieces, then I like this card a lot.
I think this card's going to save a lot of people from Blood Moon locks, for sure.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like Bridge, blows up Bridge, like it just does a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Blows up 2 bridges if they have 2. Like no one's safe. You're getting attacked. Play your own blockers.
Yeah, Matt, you were saying you really liked Force of Despair, the black one, right?
Yeah, so I was playing Modern the other day, and somebody just like had a proxy Jund deck with like the Modern Horizon cards they like, so like the Cycle lands, and he was playing this. And when I first read it, I was kind of thinking like, like Conditional Wrath, like you have to have it on the turn, creatures come into play, it'll feel bad when you draw it like afterwards. But I was playing against it, and it actually seemed like really great. I mean, he had one sweet play where like fatal push, like my hanger back walker, and then like the Thopters come in and kill all the Thopters with this thing. That was pretty good. But I like that it's just like, it's like a one-sided Wrath in like a mid-range deck.
That it just is all creatures that entered.
Yeah.
It's not like your opponent's creatures will be entering on their turn when this card is free.
Yeah.
And it's not unreasonable. Say you're playing against humans or Bant Spirits or something, and it's like violin one guy, cast another, go. Okay, kill them both for 2 cards. Like, it's just an easy 2 for 2 probably, or more a lot of the time.
Yeah, so like exactly. This is one of the ones where like the pitching a card actually isn't card disadvantage some of the time. Whereas all the other ones, well, I guess with the green one, I guess you're killing 2 things, so like that's even. But for this one, is that you can go up cards with this thing. Yeah. Also, like the cost to cast it without exiling a card is like not prohibitive at all. Like it's just 3 mana, right?
Yeah, I think it's totally reasonable effect for just 3 mana. Then being able to cast it for free is just gravy.
Yeah, I think it's just a good removal spell. It's a little like there are some conditions on it, but then also the fact that it's like a free removal spell, it makes that worth it probably.
Yeah, another one in this cycle, Force of Virtue, the white one. A lot of people kind of dismissed it early on, but there's been a few people, like you mentioned, Matt. Tom Ross wrote about this card.
Yeah, he wrote like a whole article on SEG, and like Tom Ross was working on the play design team when they made like Modern Horizons. Like I think he had some tweets basically saying like this was like, the most he's contributed to Magic. He's like really proud of it, yada yada yada. But like he was like very much in there, and he wrote like a whole article about why people are sleeping on this card, and he's tested it, so he probably knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of unassuming. It's just creatures get +1/+1.
Flash enchantment, yeah.
Yeah, not.
Yeah, but like
people have died to less.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's not really the most exciting card, but you can cast it for free, so you still gotta give it some consideration, I feel.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things you can do, for example, with this guy is like pitch a Squadron Hawk.
Ooh.
Right? Like that's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Tutor something up with like Ranger Captain of Eos, and then like pitch it with Force of Virtue, and then all your stuff's bigger. And you're not down a card.
We've got Force of Rage, which I think we can kind of skip over, as this one is, I think we can all agree, by far the worst of the set, and we'll probably see minimal to 0 play in Modern.
1 red, create 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with trample and haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of your next upkeep. So I guess they're ambush blockers. It might be similar to Force of Despair if you're getting attacked by things with 3 toughness. And for only 3 mana, like 6 damage maybe. I don't know. It's definitely, I don't even know if I want to say it's the weakest, but
I mean, I'll say it's the weakest.
all right. It's probably the weakest, and probably we'll see the least play. But
yeah, I'm just not really sure there's any deck that wants this sort of effect.
Yeah, it seems pretty. If it's set at the beginning of like the next end step, and you could like end step Force of Rage, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, that they go away on your upkeep, and so you can't use them if you instant speed them.
Yeah, it feels like to me in like play design, it is the type of card that would say at the beginning of the next end step, and they probably tried it, realized it was like too good, and just made it worse.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right, off the cycle, up to number 3.
Speaking of making some red creatures that are good.
Oh boy.
Seasoned Pyromancer. 3 mana 2/2, 1 and 2 red for human shaman. When Seasoned Pyromancer enters the battlefield, discard 2 cards, then draw 2 cards. For each non-land card discarded this way, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. And for 3 and 2 red mana, 5 total, you can exile Seasoned Pyromancer from your graveyard, create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. This card has a lot of text.
That means it's good.
It has to be good. And it's a mythic rare.
Yeah, wow.
Already paying attention.
Like we've said, obvious parallels to a lot of the other obvious parallels that we've had throughout the episode, and to Young Pyromancer.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it kind of like depressing that like he's like Young Pyromancer's like older now, and like he looks like a lot cooler and he costs more, but it's just like worse. He could have just like stayed young forever and just been a better card.
When was Young Pyromancer first printed?
It was core set.
Yeah, it's M14.
How many years ago? I'm trying to figure out how old this guy is.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I think it was M13 or 14.
Okay, well, this is going to be too much to look up on the spot, but he doesn't look like he's, well, maybe if young Pyromancers, because this guy looks like, I don't know, mid-20s, early 30s. And if he was printed within the last 10 years.
M14, so 5 years older. So maybe he's like 19, he was originally 14. He could be like one of those like 17-year-olds who just like, you look at him and you're like, really? Like 17? Like he's playing on like his...
The one that buys liquor for all his friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this card does a lot, obviously. Not a bad top deck when you're hellbent late game.
It's very, very good.
Yeah, incredibly good. I think this is the kind of card, a deck that already exists, MODO Pyromancer would want access to. You were wondering in the pre-show if this card replaces Bedlam Reveler.
I think it's probably better than Bedlam Reveler. This is my sort of initial take on it. If I'm wrong, I don't think I'll be that wrong. But so Bedlam Reveler has this, they do similar things. Like they both make, an amount of power. They're both this discard draw effect. But Bedlam Reveler can get stuck in your hand. It can be hard to cast early. It's very bad for these reasons. On mulligans, if your graveyard gets interacted with, it's almost impossible to cast. It's bad in multiples in your hand. And this doesn't really have any of those issues. If you have 3 mana, you can cast this. It similarly sort of replaces your hand when you're hellbent. If you have a lot of cards in hand, you can still cast this and filter your hand. If you have multiples, you can keep them and cast them both. It just seems like an upgrade kind of across the board to me on Bedlam Reveler. Obviously, there's some corner cases, like Reveler's prowess could be one bigger body, could represent more power. But even then, this thing does stuff in your graveyard where Reveler doesn't. So I think this card is a almost strict upgrade.
Yeah, I was going to mention the body. I think that's not like a non-trivial aspect to Bedlam Reveler in that deck, is that it was, a way to end the game quickly. And it presents like a difficult to kill body, whereas this thing doesn't really.
Well, it depends what you mean by difficult to kill.
Bolt.
Sure, Bolt kills this, but not the tokens. This is 4 power across 3 bodies, whereas Bedlam Reveler was a 3/4 on 1, so it got pathed. It depends. This needs multiple removal spell cards. It blocks better.
That's true. I don't think that this is. I don't think Bedlam Reveler is better against a deck that plays path, but a deck that's trying to, but a deck like Tron, you probably want the Reveler. I would imagine.
I don't know, Stelly.
I think the benefit this card would give you in the early game to filter out some dead cards in your hand, get some kind of board presence, and try and draw into something more relevant would be much better than Bedlam Reveler. Because realistically, you're never casting a Bedlam Reveler in that matchup. Tron plays Relic of Progenitus.
True say.
that card's just gonna rot in your hand, and you're just gonna die a slow death.
Yeah.
But
even discussing removal, O-Stone gets both of them. Karn 7 gets Reveler and only gets part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No. I'm willing to be wrong. I was very excited to put it on our list, so obviously I think it's good. I don't know why I'm playing devil's advocate for it now.
Yeah.
This card's great.
It just does so much. It's so good to play with Faithless Looting. It's a fine discard. You're just gonna have a great time discarding Lingering Souls when you cast this card.
Can we just take a second that Matt used devil's advocate there perfectly?
Thanks.
Yeah, well done. But yeah, this card does a lot in the early game to filter out cards. It has a late game effect from the graveyard. It just does so much. I think this card's going to see a lot of play in Modern. You're not obviously you're not doing busted stuff with this card. It's going to fit into some of the more fair strategies, I think. But
I could see this being a sideboard card in Dredge. It's not that much worse than Cathartic Reunion.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right there. Does stuff from the graveyard. Lets you discard your Dredge cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's So if you play this on turn 3, you pitch 2 Dredge cards, make 2 1/1s plus Dredge, whatever you're gonna Dredge. Especially with Dredge having the option to slow down a little bit. I think Blast Zone in Dredge is a big deal since it lets you play a bit more of a controlling game, just being able to recur engineered explosives.
Yeah.
That there are times where taking the controlling role is like more correct, and this kind of plays a little bit into that. So definitely worth a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. All right, get near the top. Number 2, we've got a 2-mana Planeswalker, Ren 6.
The second 2-mana Planeswalker ever, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I guess there was that Nissa you could technically cast for 2, and she'd have 0 loyalty. She was like X and 2.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one doesn't really count. But
that's true.
This card is definitely a huge upgrade on the last 2-mana Planeswalker we saw.
Hey,
Tybalt.
speaking bad about Tybalt.
Stop Tybalt.
So my ex-roommate, Gavin, was teaching his girlfriend how to play, and he was doing it with like the Tybalt dual decks, and he gave her the Tybalt deck. Oh. And one of the first things she like learned for herself was that, hey, my win rate goes down when I cast this card.
Wow.
Like, why do I want this? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, Planeswalker is probably good.
All right. Ren 6. 2 mana, green and a red, legendary Planeswalker. 3 starting loyalty. +1, return up to 1 target land card from your graveyard to your hand. -1, Ren 6 deals 1 damage to any target. -7, you get an emblem with instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard have a retrace.
So this is just a 2-mana Crucible minimum.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, well, I mean, it can get interacted with in different ways, but however you want to consider that, it's the Crucible effect, or better than the Crucible effect, because you can stockpile these lands for later and play ones from your hand.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 mana. So like that's very powerful in any deck that has these colors and is already sort of doing loam things or already doing land pieces for whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that this card has a very solid early game effect on its minus, that even if you don't have any land cards in your graveyard yet, it's still very relevant versus a lot of decks. Like kills a bunch of 1-mana plays out of humans. Kills every mana dork in the format. And then you get to do some cool stuff by bringing back Ghost Quarters and keeping your opponent off drawn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it'll be probably like fine in Modern, but I think that this is absolutely going to take a spot in like Legacy lands. This card, I think, is absolutely busted in a dedicated like Life of the Loam strategy.
Oh, totally. Kills Delver Secrets too. Man, this card does everything.
Wow.
Yeah, again, in Legacy, like the -1 is actually like way more relevant. Killing Pyros, killing Delvers, killing Strix. Not that lands really cares about Strix, to be fair. But, it does kill it.
I wonder what kind of new Modern deck could take advantage of this, because we also got the cycling lands in this set. Those cards obviously play really well with Ren 6. Life in the Loam strategies have been done before with kind of, I know back in Standard there was Seismic Assault, Life in the Loam strategies with cycling lands. I'm not sure if that's reasonable to do in Modern. I don't know how fast those decks are and how long they take to win, but...
Yeah, you have the cycling lands and you have the horizon lands. Both of those very nice for this. And just like you can even just like Field of Ruin people out of the game. Like obviously, I mean that's just what Crucible does. But
yeah.
No, I think this is one of the few cards on the list that is strong enough to really maybe make its like own archetype that you base around this card. Whereas other cards are sort of like supplemental to existing archetypes. This is the one that this could be new.
And an additional minor point of something that I like about the design of this card is that there's a lot of Planeswalkers all across the mana curve where if you can emblem them, you do. It's kind of like you don't really think about it. Their emblem's just so nuts. But I can imagine a lot of game states where like this thing's at 7 loyalty and you still want a plus or you still want a minus or...
That's a good point, yeah.
So it has a lot of play to it in that sense too, which is, going to be a small fraction of games, but...
Yeah, it's got a high loyalty too for a 2-mana walker. It comes in at 2, it's a 4.
It's not getting bolted is big.
Yeah, not getting bolted is very big.
Yeah, I wonder what are the best instant sorcery cards you would want in a strategy like this that would be really busted with retrace.
Punishing Fire.
Punishing Fire.
That's
okay.
Is that? Wait.
We have Grove. It's good. That card is definitely not Modern legal.
Instance. I mean, you're going to play Bolt in decks that play this.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Just
probably good enough, right?
All your lands are bolts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All
That's
your lands are
probably really-
loans.
That's like, bro, that's so good. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
You
I mean,
could cast
geez.
Lava Dart from your graveyard without sacking a mountain.
Yeah.
Or I could just sack him out and then get it back.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Like, this card is cool enough that it makes me want to consider playing something other than Tron in Modern.
Wow.
Which,
Well,
like,
that's high praise.
I don't know if I've ever said that in my entire life. Because Karn's the best. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it gets
That's
back your Tron lands when people try and hate them out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think 4-mana card is actually like very overrated, but
Think so?
7-mana card. is
Have you
very
ever killed someone with a Mycosynth Lattice?
good. No, I have a soul.
Don't knock it till you try it. That's all I'm saying.
Don't knock until I try it.
Yeah. And I guess since we just kind of mentioned something to do with artifacts, number one on our list, we've got Collector Oof. 2-mana 2/2, 1 and a green for a creature Oof. Activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. This card's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna play this card. Pretty much any green deck, I would imagine.
Yeah.
slots
Somewhere in the
this
75. It's just the definition of a hate pair.
Yeah, you no longer have to play white to get your Stony Silence effect.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, I've seen like a lot of people talking about it, especially in like the Scales communities, and people are like, saying this is like the end.
It's probably nuts in the scales mirror.
It's probably not. Well, no, it turns off all your stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, but they can't win.
This card,
You have a 2/2 to attack with.
this card is going to be such a pain. The deck I'm going to talk about right now is Tron because obviously you can deal with Stony Silence very easily out of Tron. Collector Oof a lot harder to deal with. Creatures don't die to Nature's Claim, unfortunately.
They don't die to Nature's Claim. They die to like Dismember, which is like my plan. Is just I've been packing 3 Dismembers when most people pack 2 in Scales for probably like 6 months, just mostly because of like how good it is against Sting in the Ice. But like, now my Dismembers kill Stony Silences, so I'm probably gonna play 4.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts an interesting stress on sideboards of artifact decks, having, multiple different permanent types in different colors that need to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is just like a very stereotypical white effect. And like obviously it fits into greens like Color Pie, but like you don't usually see these kind of oppressive sideboard cards from a color that's like not white.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of decks, like maybe like Jund or Rock, get to play this sort of thing, and that makes them, a lot more scary for artifact-based combo decks.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, the creature combo decks that are playing, Court of Calling, this card's just lights out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one thing that people kind of forget with regards to like Court of Calling and Collected Company is that this isn't that much better than Kitaki.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, from like Scales, I guess, is like obviously like where I'm coming from. Like Kitaki, I guess, like gets ballisted, but like,
Yeah.
this thing doesn't. But other than that, that's really the only upside that this has over Kitaki. And it's like kind of a marginal upgrade. So it's not like a huge one for like the Cord decks. The thing that this has over Kitaki is that it's green and it's pactable. I think that's the big one.
Oh, Summoner's Pact, you mean?
Yeah, Summoner's Pact.
That is big.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like Amulet Titan right now plays they packed up Reclamation Sage, right? Now they get to pack up Stony Silence.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Scapeshift, obviously.
Yeah.
Is the two decks to play, packed. And you can't even like lose to your own pack, so I'm screwed. Yeah, so I think that's the big fear for me is that it's pactable.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's pretty much just Kitaki, but in a color that doesn't usually get that effect. So pretty much any green deck is going to want this.
Oh, yeah, totally. And that's why it's number one, boys.
Yeah.
That's why. All right. Any honorable mentions you guys wanted to?
Collected Conjuring. I hate that that's a card.
Collected Conjuring.
Yeah.
What does that do?
It is
Collected Company for instants and
Oh,
sorceries?
Yep.
yeah.
Or for sorceries?
Okay, it only hits sorceries, but still, it's just another one of these. Like, they fixed a lot of the problems Collected Company had. This is not instant. It's only limited to to sorceries, not instants and sorceries. But it's still just another one of these like gimmicky high roll cards that like warp your deck, and you have to hope high. Like,
I mean, it's not instant unless you have Teferi, and then oh Betty, is it instant?
oh, true.
For other honorable mentions, I like the Bayful Strix, but I think it's odd because like it's encouraging you to play snow colored, so like a lot of basics, but then it's like a multicolored card on 2.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of pulling you in 2 different directions, but like obviously it's very powerful. But
yeah,
you know,
I mean, having flash is nice.
Yeah, having flash definitely is nice, but you know, I guess like it's like Elvish Visionary with harder to cast, but then the upside that it might have Death Touch.
Yeah, sometime later in the game.
When I first saw this card get spoiled, I immediately thought this card's going to trick a lot of people into playing it. And it's going to see more play than it probably should because I don't think it's that great, realistically.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure warping your deck to support snow permanence is worth getting a Baleful Strix.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot about Kess. Kess is sweet.
This is a commander card, right? Like it was printed in a commander set?
Yeah, that's true. And then it was seeing a lot of legacy play, and it was before the Nexus of Fate. This was the card that people were having to proxy because you can only get it foil.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Snapcaster Mage every single turn is a pretty good effect, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Could definitely see a lot of modern play.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the other one would be like the Sinkhole, the 5 mana or the 6 mana Delve.
Magmatic Sinkhole.
Yeah. There are definitely some like up and coming like red strategies, like the Mono Red Phoenix is seeing a bit of a resurgence that would like to play it in modern.
Yep.
I think in Legacy though is like it just slots right into Blue Red Delver.
Yeah.
And Pauper, I think too. I don't know if I don't play Pauper. I don't know.
This card is probably nuts in Pauper. I can see the like Blue Red Delver decks or Delver decks going Blue Red since Gash and Probe and a lot of the reasons to stay blue got banned. So
yeah, kills some problem creatures that Blue Red decks have some issues with.
Yeah, Gourmet Angler. See you later.
That is one big fish that needs to die.
Yeah. Not that this card is really playable in Modern right now, but it's pretty good at killing a Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, that's true.
It shrinks it and then it kills it?
Yeah.
That's true. Well, yeah, but presumably you've shrunk it with your Dell. Hopefully.
Yeah.
What else here is interesting? Oh, shout out to Benson who mentioned that he was talking about Reap the Past, which is this X red green, return X target or X cards at random from your graveyard to your hand and then exile it.
Yeah.
He said it's his goal to cast this for a lot with a huge graveyard in some format where you're not allowed to rearrange your graveyard and then try and resolve it.
That's fantastic.
Just a lot of dice, a lot of rolling.
Yeah. That's Scale Up's another good one.
Yeah. Obviously slots right into Infect.
Yeah, so it's probably just like the fastest way Goldfish. I don't think it's just better than Might of Old. I mean, well, it's sorcery, so it's not necessarily better than Might of Old Corrosa, but it's very good.
Yeah, this is the sorcery that costs a single green until end of turn. Target creature you control becomes a green worm with base power and toughness 6/4.
That's huge.
It's a lot of infect damage for one.
Yeah, that is a lot of infect damage for a single mana.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't check if they have any way to interact with your Gataxian probes anymore, but like they probably don't. Just cast it.
Yeah, that's so Infect. If people are trying to go like linear and non-interactive, Infect is the deck that punishes that the most, I think, in Modern. And so, I mean, if people do go off the rails trying to say like, oh, London Mulligan going to play my stupid combo deck, then I'll just bring Infect and just smash with my 6/4 worms. Yeah,
Infect can play, like if everyone's trying to do Neoform stuff, you can just play Infect with some Pact of Negations, not Pact, Force of Negation.
Yeah, sure.
They also, we should probably mention Prismatic Vista quickly, the strictly better Evolving Wilds, the fetch land that fetches basics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it costs a life, so it turns on spectacle for your opponent.
Oh,
so
yeah.
not strictly better.
Damn.
Yeah, that's true. If you're fetching on your opponent's turn
Yeah.
in their main phase.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah. I actually don't know if this card will see that much play. Like,
enables your snow decks.
can it get snows?
Yeah. Get
All
a
right.
basic land.
Basic lands.
They're
Those are
basic
basics.
lands.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
If this fixes like that problem you were talking about with Ice Fang Coil, in that it's like fixing for multicolor snow decks, that's I think where it will see play. I don't know if other places will see. I guess maybe like some legacy decks and some modern decks are already playing off-color fetches just to have a more fetch effect, but they're doing that to go get shocklands. So
Yeah.
or tundras or whatever in legacy. So I
Yeah.
don't think this would even replace those.
Ooh, one more.
Yeah.
What's the 2 black and a colorless? Pitch all the colorless cards.
Oh.
Oh, Mind Shatter or something, or
So I think like obviously like it doesn't do anything in like against like Tron really. It's like
Shatter
Bled and Modern.
Assumptions.
Shatter Assumptions. This one.
Yeah.
I want so bad just to like play Storm one time and just like ritual into this turn 1 against my Eldrazi opponent.
That'd be pretty good.
I actually think it's fine to do that. Like
Mhm.
Eldrazi against like Storm is like already I think of like a reasonably Storm favored matchup. Like unless they hit like Chalice on 1 or like Accelerated Trinisphere, like it's over.
Yeah.
But like this is just to get you, oh buddy.
It certainly is. Man, Tron is dead.
is there
Oh yeah, Tron's dead, obviously.
is there any decks that like the other mode, the discards all multicolor cards would be good against? Ritualist out against like
Esper
humans or
Hero.
something? Esper Hero.
I don't know. Maybe if there's like a glittering wish deck.
I guess
maybe?
humans
don't
already
know.
has a bunch of mono white cards and such.
I think the fact that we have this many like honorable mentions just shows that it's like kind of a pretty neat set.
Yeah,
Like,
there-
a
there's
clear
a
cut. Like
a ton of
yeah.
playable cards. It's going to be cool to see what happens to Modern.
I am ready to be reading Spikes as soon as this is released and people have all their
Oh,
sweet
yeah.
tournament reports, all their brews.
I went 2-1 at my FNF.
I think this deck's nuts.
Here's my Lava Dart's the best card in the set.
But yeah, that wraps up our top 10. And if you want to pick up any of these cards that we spoke about today, where can we go to get them?
You can go to wizardtower.com. Free shipping in Canada on single orders over $15. They got a lot of other podcasts and articles and great content at their website.
Pre-orders for Modern Horizons are live.
Yeah, proud sponsor of this podcast since the beginning.
Yep. Check them out, wizardtower.com.
Yeah, they put on a pretty good PTQ too. Or not PTQ, MCQ.
Oh, yeah, the MCQ that Matt and I got crushed at.
They've got another Modern one coming up in August 10th.
Yeah.
Modern MCQ?
Yeah, Modern MCQ here in Ottawa. August.
Good thing I don't play Modern because I'm going to be in Newfoundland, I think.
Ooh.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week for the show, Matt. It was great to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
Great. If you guys want to support the cast, you can find us on patreon.com/DWC Podcast. We've got some cool tier benefits, custom DWC tokens. All patrons get access to the DWC Discord. You can also find us on Facebook, the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast, or on Twitter at DWC Podcast 1. And however you listen to the show, whether it's on Podbean, iTunes, any podcast app, or Google Play, leave a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps bring the show to new listeners and keep it growing. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you all next week.
See ya.
All right.